When peace comes, we will perhaps be able to forgive the Arabs for killing our sons. But it will be harder for us to forgive them for having forced us to kill their sons. Prime Minister Golda Meir was many things. She desperately sought peace and abhorred war. She was prepared to be forgiving, but she also knew that Israel cannot shirk on a war forced on it. Today we commemorate 30 days since the greatest massacre of Jews since the Holocaust, which took place on October 7th. In Judaism, the Shloshim, meaning 30, is the day when those who have lost loved ones end a period of mourning and resume some of their regular daily activities. Unfortunately, for 9 million Israelis, they cannot go about their regular daily activities. It is a nation still in shock and facing massive national trauma. They are still reliving that day, which was a Jewish holiday and the Jewish Sabbath, a day of rest, when thousands of Hamas and Islamic Jihad terrorists, joined by ordinary Gazans, stormed across the border into Israel. 1,400 murdered, almost 240 kidnapped. There are numbers. These are numbers and statistics, but behind every single number is a story. Ladies and gentlemen and friends, Prime Minister Golda Meir, who we celebrate and commemorate today, was someone who cared about humanity. She had a strong moral compass and conscience. As the book of Ecclesiastes, Kohelet, makes clear, there is a time for everything. There is a time for peace, and there is a time for war. Golda Meir knew both. She constantly and bravely held out her hand in peace to all of Israel's neighbors, but she also knew when it was rejected and the drums of war were beating that she dared not shirk her duty to provide safety and security to her people. This is what makes a great stateswoman or statesman, and this is part of why we celebrate her legacy here today in the beating heart of global democracy and freedom in the entire world. It is in this house, the United States Capitol, that peace and security can come forth. As we see the globalization of hate against Jews, which has reached these shores, we must find solutions to these dire challenges before blood is shed here too. We see the calls for the annihilation of the Jewish people on university and college campuses and cannot remain quiet. These institutions are supposed to be places of rigorous scholarship and investigation. However, today, many have become unquestioning bastions of unbridled hate against Jews. At some universities and colleges, Jews are forced to hide in dark corners, remove all signs of identification for fear of physical threats, and not be allowed to ask the questions that should be allowed in places built for inquiry. So I call on you and all of our elected representatives to fight these phenomena, because when one people are refused an education or safety and security, it means that the hour for change has passed. These institutions must have their funding based on whether they have become a place where everyone feels safe or not, whether members of the student body or faculty call or justify the cries of genocide. Furthermore, this House has the ability to ensure that social media does not also become a tool for violence and bloodshed. We have seen far too often how extremists and terrorists become radicalized online. We must find ways to give people the maximum space for freedom of speech, but not the freedom to advocate or plot mass murder. These are just two ways this House can act to ensure that Jewish lives matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a dear, dear friend in the United States Senate, Senator Ted Cruz. Will be introduced by Lee Sampson when I finish a half sentence. Senator Cruz stands with Israel every single day, loudly, clearly, emphatically, without equivocation. Senator, we thank you for your leadership and for your friendship. Please stand.
Senator Cruz and I go way back. I'll never forget the first meeting we had in my home. I'll never forget your entourage. It was quite an interesting day. It was a pleasure to meet you. I guess it was 2016, June 2016. Since then, we've cherished a friendship. As the Senator was introduced in terms of his relationship with Israel, there are no questions. He stands with Israel and the United States-Israel relationship. It is an honor for me to welcome Senator Ted Cruz.
Well, it's great to be with you. I will note, Lee, when I was at your house, that meeting we had back many years ago actually changed an internal policy we had in our campaign, and I had 2 campaign aides. We were great guys, but they're kind of hicks. And they showed up chewing tobacco and spitting in cups. And Lee has an amazing art collection, and I would say the look of utter horror on your face as these 2 guys had their spit cups. We changed our policy and no longer allowed our staffers to chew tobacco when we were meeting with them. Listen, we are gathered at a time of enormous challenge. It's the 1-month anniversary of the horrific October 7th massacre. This is the time when everyone here is feeling the weight of the horror that is playing out in Israel. What happened there was unmitigated evil. And I want you to know that the prayers of millions of Americans are with the people of Israel and with the Jewish people across the world. It is horrific what is unfolding, and this is a battle between civilization and barbarism. And in my view, there is only one position for America to take, and that is that America stands unequivocally with the state of Israel. I want to thank the Golda Meir Commemorative Coin Commission for your leadership. And I'm proud to be the Republican lead on this legislation. When I introduced this bill with Senator Cardin back in April, it was a time of celebration. We were marking Israel's 75th anniversary and the celebration of the United States-Israel relationship. And of course, Golda Meir was a towering figure in both. She signed Israel's Declaration of Independence and was its first female prime minister. She did enormous work deepening the U.S.-Israel alliance, which is critical to the national security of both our countries. And I remember talking to people around that time and mentioning an old quote she had about America. She was asked to explain the difference between America and Russia. And what she emphasized was the commitment to freedom, and especially freedom of expression, which we share with Israel. She said, quote, "The America I've known is a place where men on horseback escort Union marchers. The Russia I've known is a place where men on horseback slaughter young socialists and Jews." That's a fundamental difference. Even today, the U.S.-Israel relationship and Golda Meir's role in it are worth celebrating. But of course, today we're not just meeting to celebrate. We are here to recommit to that relationship and to the mutual security of Israel and the United States. We are meeting in the aftermath of the worst one-day massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. It was carried out by Hamas terrorists every bit as committed to genocide as were the Nazis. They used Nazi tactics in pursuit of Nazi ends. They murdered entire families, beheaded babies, raped women and children, and kidnapped those they didn't kill. I view the role of the United States and my personal role in the Senate as doing everything necessary to ensure that Israel has everything it needs, military, diplomatic, and time, to utterly eradicate Hamas. As we've seen today, that commitment across much of Congress is real and very deep. The United States will not abandon Israel. That said, I am confident that Israel's victory will be decisive. I'm now reminded of another quote from Mayer. In 1969, in an interview, she told Vogue magazine, quote, "We don't thrive on military acts. We do them because we have to. And thank God we are efficient." Israel will prevail in this.
Yes.
And at the same time, I believe we will stand united against the vicious anti-Semitism we are seeing in the United States and across the world. Anti-Semitism is evil, it is wrong, and we should speak with one voice against it. Thank you for your leadership.
Senator, thank you very much. At the beginning of this program, we assured you that it would be impactful, power-packed, relevant, and temporary. When we think about all of you being